Chair. Maybe the commissioner has a zinger to throw in here as part of this.
I was watching him, I think. Do you have a zinger? Anything to add?
You could judge that. I think it would be appropriate for me to comment, just
Oh,
given her
I'm
role
sorry.
and
Thank
it's all
you.
relating to us.
Yeah,
I'll be
even more
quick.
with you.
That's why I called it a zinger.
Thanks for this. Sorry, Chuck. We're going to hear from the commissioner. I jumped ahead.
Sorry, Chuck. I'll be quick.
Famous last words.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Michael Snyder, Commissioner of Forest Parks and Recreation. And I appreciate Jamie and Warren's overview. Well done. I think it was appropriate to start there. I think it is also appropriate, though, for me, given that it's about, when they say NR, currently they've been talking FPR. The Vermont Trail System exists within FPR. Trails and Greenways Council exists as advisory to FPR. So I should speak quickly. I would just say, and fill in a couple gaps or details of information, but generally speaking, I think I'd like to express deep appreciation. It may seem like, in fact, it's been a long time, but it's because it's been thoughtful, deliberate, and it's complicated, and everyone involved is trying to get it right once. And I think that should be recognized, and I hope you do see it that way. It's not a delay, it's not, and yeah, I'm as amped up to get something done as anybody. And that's because there's real angst out there in Vermont among landowners. It's been said, this is all on the backs, largely, we're very proud of the state trail system, but it's largely on the backs of private landowners and the volunteer member-based organizations that support and develop and maintain trails. And there's a lot of angst out there and uncertainty because of lack of clarity and inconsistencies, et cetera, that have been well documented. And this is all trying to take that into consideration and consider an alternative mechanism. That's what the original legislation directed myself and Chairwoman Snelling to convene stakeholders, create an opportunity to consider an alternative mechanism. Heading towards that. In the meantime, trying to clear up some things and make some progress with the existing. I think that's downright historic if we can get this right. The vision for world-class recreational trails and all that they bring, balanced with environmental quality and property rights, et cetera, is a really worthy goal and a great opportunity for a future here. That's what we're shooting for. It's also time to modernize the trail system. The Greenways Council, 91 originally repealed back in 93. A lot of things, as you all know, and much of what you're grappling with now, they're about change in Vermont since then. And so it's time. It's time. The idea of a BMP or / technical assistance-based program as an alternative, as a concept, I think there are analogs. This is how we deal with water quality protection on logging jobs, is through kind of a presumption with, if you follow what we call the AMPs and technical assistance from our foresters and hydrologic professionals, then you enjoy that presumption that you're in compliance, and we don't regulate that, and I think that's an interesting analog that suggests here with recreational trails that it can work there as well. So maybe you'd like to know that just generally, I just wanted to tally up for you, and I'll finish here, is that currently the way the Vermont Trail System exists, we have about 30 trail systems in the system now, totaling about just under 7,000 acres. The big ones are vast: Vermont Association of Snow Travelers, state lands, state forests, state parks, the Long Trail from the Green Mountain Club and its spurs, and VASA, the Vermont Association of, ATV Sportsmen's Association. Basically, we ask these organizations, we have an application to be part of the Vermont Trail System, demonstrate it's open to the public, and we ask them to demonstrate how they're managed and maintained to a set of recommended trail standards. We would begin there with these BMPs. We would certainly want to be part of developing new ones to consider beyond the treadway of the trail, right, to these ancillary impacts and associated attendant issues like parking and traffic. That the BMP manuals that they use now don't do that. So we have to have this comprehensive approach. That's kind of what the Vermont Trail System tries to do now, but we need to modernize it, and we benefit from the input of all the different partners. So basically, the current application focuses on how well the trails are maintained and available to the public by qualified trail managers. We don't want to really change any of that, but we're going to clarify, confirm it, maybe beef it up a little bit, and make it predictable and understandable, and really have it be about quality. balancing values out there. That's what we do all the time in forest management for public lands. Can't have every use on every acre. And this is a sort of a systematic approach to developing a world-class trail system that is in balance with these other values. And this is just an attempt to modernize and take that into the future and set us up. And your work on Act 250 presents a real opportunity for us to, and we appreciate the chance, the patience to have us work this out, bring it forward. When we get there, I'll be very proud as Commissioner of Recreation to have something that can last and really gets us where we want to go. And I'd finish with just real appreciation to Jamie and Warren representing these broad stakeholder groups, and they've listened to others. There are folks who aren't particular members who have asked, the backcountry hunters and anglers, who have a great voice for keeping wild and remote qualities, and that's important to me as well. They're listening to that. They're considering beyond their own interests, and that is complicated. So hats off to them all, and thanks for allowing this to continue and be part. And we'll, I'm here emailing with our general counsel at the agency about the latest version, trying to get this back to you as quickly as we can.
When was the last, when was the last trail added to the trail system, Vermont trail system?
I don't know that I know that right now. I know that Victory Hill in Victory was a recent applicant that we ruled on and said, if they're basically told them that if you can show us that you are open to the public and you are in compliance with all other permits and A&R permits, etc., then you're in. And they had recently closed their trails. I guess it's fair to say relating to a jurisdictional opinion from Act 250. And they said, well, we're going to close. So that's kind of in limbo. But for our purposes, they qualify if they're open to the public. And that would be the last one that I know of that we've allowed in.
It's current, and
Yep.
mountain bike trails are in.
Oh, yeah.
Just the ones you listed, I didn't hear mountain bikes, so I didn't know how.
Oh yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
And some of those are on state lands and some in private lands.
Carrie?
Good afternoon. We had increased funding for Trails grant program last year. I think we doubled the funding to a couple $100,000, I believe. Is that correct?
I don't think so, but I'm glad you raised this.
Well-
Because I'm not asking for money, but in order, one of the really important purposes of the Vermont Trail System is by federal designate, the state has to have that, something like that, through a body like ours, in order to receive Federal Highway Administration Rec Trails Program funds. 40% of which that's a gas tax thing, we get a percentage, that comes, it's capped at $370,000, that comes to us, 40% we use on state lands, 20% to communities and trail groups, and 40% to VAST. That's just by statute, but you have to have a Vermont Trail System kind of designation in order to get that. So that's what we have for recreational trails funding. It's several $100,000 a year that we make available. It's really important in throughout the state in clubs and communities as well as state lands. I think the $200,000 you're referencing was for the VOREC Community Grant Program, which is not necessarily about trails, but supporting, could be parts, it does include trails in the mix, but this is about communities who want to embrace their recreational assets and move them forward for economic development, wellness, environmental connection.
So my questions are you getting enough resources and support from us to meet the demand for organizations to build and maintain their trail network?
We can do more. We could do more with more, and I'm proud of what we're doing with what we have. I think a modernized system and approach, relieving the angst among landowners about what's involved here and will go a long way to helping us spread the money more, and will probably allow us to access more money, I would think. There is a need for more capacity and support. I also appreciate these guys noting that if we're going to contemplate an alternative mechanism out of the NRB and add FPR, we cannot just add that to our current portfolio. We would love to, but we would need significant resources to do it well, and that would be a starting point.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well,
I've been getting emails from the Kingdom Trails people, and they're apprehensive about another jurisdictional opinion being applied for and received on their trails, feeling that they might be forced to shut down. And it sounds like you're working now for a new alternative, but I'm wondering in this kind of you called it a state of limbo, in terms of that's resolved or put into place, I'm wondering if these people who are feeling this kind of uncertainty and kind of insecurity, if you can give them any kind of assurances, or if we can extend any kind of saying that, well, things are gonna change, you just have to bear with us. How would you advise these folks?
Well, I appreciate the question, and indeed, I'm quite engaged with the folks at Kingdom Trails Association, some of the landowners. But really, I think to answer your question best, like, where does that stand? How does this relate? I'd like to defer to, say, Greg, if Greg's in the room. Where's Greg? Greg left. Jamie, Warren, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to try and, so what we've at least been designing so far has been forward-looking. And this recent JO request at Kingdom Trails obviously just happened within a week or so ago. So to date, we have not been trying to figure out how to solve some of those issues. That doesn't mean we can't or that we shouldn't, but at least what Jamie and I have been working on to date has been forward-looking. So that's a very new development, the one you're describing. So we have not really talked about that. How to fix it, whether to fix it, that's a big policy question for you as well.
Did you mention that KTA is a member of the Vermont
Yes.
Trails Alliance?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And they've been.
We're having an NRBA tomorrow, so we can ask them that tomorrow. Thank you.
great, thank you all.
Thank you.